I think adoption means, like, people that are willing to take care of someone that doesn't have anyone to take care of them. So
It's like having a family when when the one you were supposed to have couldn't take care of you. It's about making sure every child has a good home to live in.
Adoption means like putting a child in a home that's stable and suitable and where they're going to be loved and accepted and stuff.
Adoption means having a family, a loving, caring family.
Adoption to me means being, for me, having a caring family, and even though, your family, your birth mother couldn't, take care of you, it means she loved you enough to give you up to somebody who could take care of you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Vera Falberg. I've been working with adoption-built families for close to 25 years now. During that time, both adoption professionals and adoptive parents have told me of a variety of questions they would like to pose to the young person who has been adopted. Today, we have the unique opportunity of having two panels of experts. They are teens who themselves have been adopted and who are willing to share information about their experiences with us. What do you remember about how you sort of learned that you were adopted?
I remember not living with my mom. I lived with my mom's boyfriend's sister-in-law, and I thought I was going to live with them, but things didn't work out, so I went back to my parents, and then 2 years later I went to a foster home.
Mm-hmm. As I was growing up, I always knew my brother, who's also adopted, was 5 years older than I was, so he was the one that kind of broke me into it, because he would tease me and say if I was bad, I'd get readopted or sold back.
That's a real helpful thing.
I never really understood it, but I always kind of knew, and it wasn't a big deal at all.
I thought that adopted meant being bought and kind of like slavery and stuff, but over the years I learned that that wasn't true, and they're doing it because they want to help you.
I was 2 years old, and my mom was reading me this story, and there was this little kid in there that was adopted, and it explained the whole thing. I went to her, Mom, am I adopted? She's all, yeah. I'm like, okay. And we just kind of went on.
One time I went to NACAC, I don't remember, Virginia or something, and we got some shirts, and my sister wore them to school, and I felt ashamed of being adopted then. I was 6 or 7, but I told her not to wear it and all this stuff.
Well, I was adopted before,
Okay.
and so I came more from Germany than Korea.
Okay. And so how old were you when you were adopted into your first family?
I was about 2.
Okay. Do you remember coming to them at all or not?
Well, I came then from Korea.
Yes.
And I just remember that I was being carried
Mm-hmm.
because I was too little to walk.
Yeah, to come any other way. And then did you come from Germany to this country when you came to join your current family?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got put in a foster home, and then through that I met him.
Okay, and so how long were you in a foster home before you went to your family then about, do you think?
maybe 6 months.
Okay, so who told you you were going to be placed for adoption? Again, that you were going to be joining another adoptive family.
My family before.
Okay, and what was do you remember what your thoughts were when you were told that you were going to be placed for adoption?
Well, I was more relieved and happier.
It was kind of like, yeah, shopping. You'd go and look and find, like, you go, oh, there's a little redhead baby. Let's take that one. I mean, I didn't know if they're kind of like when you go pick out a little puppy. You just kind of pick one that might fit in your family or something. I never really understood it.
Okay.
Now I do that.
I don't know. There are already a lot of other people in my family who are already adopted, so I guess no one ever really. I mean, it wasn't until I was older people actually, like my parents told me, oh, you are adopted. Because, I mean, I guess I've always known.
My real parents, my mom and dad, they have pictures of when I was like a baby, and because the first couple of months I was in a foster home, and so, looking at those pictures when I was little and even now, kind of remind you or bring back little tiny memories of what it was like then.
Have there been times when being adopted felt really hard and that you didn't want to talk about it?
Well, I remember the day after I went to court, a girl asked me why I wasn't at school, and I told her, but I told her not to tell anybody, and I kind of hid it for 2 years until my friend said it was kind of cool that I was adopted. And so everybody at school knows, and they just accept me the way I am.
Yeah, like sort of early on, I sort of wondered like why I wasn't with my real mom, like sort of wanted her back. But as I got older, I grew to understand it more.
I guess it was when I first moved here, when I was like 11, 12. And I was like, oh, I don't want them to come to school. But they did, and they both came. And then it's like the next day, everyone's all asking me, oh, who is that, and this and that, and this and that. I was like, oh, here we go again.
When I was 7 and 8, I think that was one of my hardest times because I became really interested in finding out who they were and why I wasn't, living in Korea with them. But my mom helped me write a letter to Holt where they, I don't know, it was just a little letter that I wrote expressing my feelings, and that's about it. And I mean, it doesn't really come up anymore too much, but I remember.
Did you get any response or not?
They printed it in some sort of Korean newspaper, and no one ever wrote me back. And they gave me a little bit of information about her, but that was it.
Talking about my brother, most of the questions like my brother and my sister, are they my real brother and sister? Are they blood? About my mom, because she's like older than most of my friends' parents. And so they said, she's kind of old, and make jokes and stuff. And I get kind of mad.
Well, now my friends, they just think it's pretty cool, and they go, oh, I kind of wish I was like that or something. And
there have been a few times on my birthday where I've wondered if my mom is thinking about me. If that's the day when she thinks, oh, so-and-so years ago I had this kid, But the only thing I can think of that used to hella irritate me when people asked was do you want to go find your real parents? Yeah. And I'm just to me, they're not my real parents because it takes 30 seconds to make a kid, and it's I know from I've read my adoption papers and I know I was a complete accident, and that's why. And to me, it's yes, they gave birth to me and that's cool and that's great and all, but my real parents are the ones who tucked me in at night, who stayed home with me when I was sick, who took me to school and made sure I did my homework and stuff like that. And then it's everyone seems to always harp on, well, they're your real parents because they made you, and that doesn't make a parent to me.
A lot of times they ask me if I like my adopted parents, and then they asked why I'm adopted, and I tell them. I kind of just am open about it. And they don't really ask about the race because they think I look like my mom. So they know I'm not the same race as them because my dad's white. So is my mom, but she doesn't really look white.
They ask questions why didn't your real parents want you or something? And I don't really like talking to them about it, so I just kind of just don't tell them, I don't want to talk about it. And
People usually ask, why were you adopted and how, and just how all that came to be. And because I didn't really share my story until one day when I was in school, and they have bring your sharing. And I brought one of those precious moments thing, and it has a mom and a dad, and it has a child, and it says adoption in a paper. And that's when people really started asking me questions.
What do you remember about being told that you were going to be coming to an adoptive family, and any memories you have and so on?
We just got put on an airplane. That's all I know. I didn't know what they were doing.
I think I remember that when I was on the plane that my ears started hurting. And just that my mom gave us like toys to play with on the plane.
I don't remember it anymore, but I've been told that that my family, my biological family, used to go to church a lot, and when I came to my new family, that they didn't really go to church, and that was something that
seemed very different to you, huh?
Yes.
I wasn't sure about them at first. I didn't want to meet a family because I didn't know what it would be like to have a mommy and a daddy. So I kind of just got close to them, and they told me that it was okay to trust them because they wouldn't ever hurt me or leave me, because I always thought I would be left. So,
which is a common one.
Yes, and they were very close to me, so I got to trusting them very easily.
Could you give us a sense about how long you think that sort of took?
Well, I got really close to my parents, so it probably only took a month.
Oh, that is really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was hard for me to go to sleep at night, and for my sister too. We'd stay up all night.
Okay, and what did you do when you were having difficulty going to bed or going to sleep? I mean, what would I have seen or heard if I'd been at your house?
Probably me watching the snow on the TV.
I think when we first came I think that we slept on the floor in the same room, but that's all I remember.
Are there things you wish you knew about your birth family?
I've seen their pictures.
Okay, you've seen pictures?
I don't know much about my birth father. I just know I've seen pictures of my birth mother, me when I was a baby, and my birth sister.
Okay, when did you start in your mind having more questions about your birth dad?
Probably when I was about 13.
Like, if I had any brothers or sisters, or if like anyone had come over and lived in the United States, just general information.
Well, I wish I knew like where my mom is right now. What other family members there are around, and see, maybe family trees, that sort of thing. I do remember how they look, and I've kept some contact with my siblings, but I know that my father died of a heart attack, and I haven't heard from my mother since I was adopted.
I was adopted through Children's Home Society, and I wrote into them and paid the fee to figure out any information if they'd give me anything, but it was very limited. Just a few things about my birth mother, like her size, but they didn't say anything about the father. She didn't want anybody to know, so it's really limited.
I think it would always be neat to know what they looked like. I mean, I don't know. I think a picture would do fine for me. But I've also wondered if they have any other children. Because, I don't know, I think having one hand was also a big deal. And I was just wondering maybe if they had any other children with two hands. So. I know that my birth mother was sick when I was born, and she couldn't have taken care of me, but also with my living in Korea with one hand, I think it would have made my life pretty hard.
I always wanted to know
They gave a lot of information, so they basically filled in everything, but I wish they would write down why they couldn't take care of us. Well, my 3 younger, I talk to on the phone, and we send pictures and write letters.
Okay, now they are in a different adoptive family, is
Yeah,
that right?
just that. What happened? Like, why were we put up for adoption?
I want to know why they had me if they couldn't take care of me. 'Cause that's kind of messed up.
Like when I was about 7, my mom went and took me to her safe deposit box, and she let me read everything that was in there. So I've read like all my adoption papers, and I've read like the letter my mom wrote me and all that stuff like that. So it's basically I know how, why, and what and everything. So
And were the things you wanted to know, were they included in there?
yeah, because basically all I really wanted to know was like kind of like the racial breakdown, like who was what, like what was my dad, what was my mom, and why, what had happened, and all that stuff.
The only thing I've had was a letter from my birth mother.
Okay, and when was that letter written?
When I was born, like when I was a small baby, and they took me to the foster
And so
home.
she wrote it to be shared with you as you grew up, is that right?
No, it was more of a letter to the people who found me. That she wouldn't be able to take care of me and just
Okay,
stuff like
and when
that.
did you see that first?
I saw it probably about 2 years ago.
Okay, so when you were about 12 or so?
Yeah.
And can you tell us some about how just having that letter, how that impacted on you? Were you glad to have a letter? Were you not?
It was kind of a mixed feeling because I was glad that she cared enough to, send a letter that I could look back on and say, oh, she really cared. But then it kind of hurt and brought back, it was a lot of emotion for me because, it was a letter that said she couldn't take care of me, and that hurt.
Last year, I ran across them in a mall. Not my parents, but my birth uncle and aunt.
Oh, the ones that you had lived with?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I ran into them last year, and
And did you recognize them?
no, I was standing there because I was paying for some clothes at a cashier, and they came up to me and just started. They asked me my name first, and I was like, who are you and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really remember because it'd been a long time. My uncle and my aunt and my adoptive family live basically in the same area and stuff. So I think that they've kind of been maybe watching me grow up a little bit.
Okay, and so how did that conversation go when you figured out, how did you find out who they were?
Well, they came up to me and then, they introduced themselves to me and then we just started talking. I asked them questions about, about my parents because the uncle that I met was a twin brother of my real dad.
Ah,
So
okay.
I thought it was my dad. I came up.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of questions did you have for them?
Well, I asked them if they knew where my dad and my mom were and stuff, but that's kind of a little bit personal, and they didn't really want to answer that. I asked them is my mom gonna have any more kids or anything? Will we be able to take them into custody and stuff? And so they gave me answers to my questions. They answered most of my questions. I mean, what was my dad doing, or what my mom and dad had jobs for, were they getting jobs, where they were living, and basically just the general stuff. When I met them, I got their phone number at wherever I was, and a couple weeks later, I called them from a restaurant, and my dad asked who I was calling, and I told him my uncle, and he goes, "Oh, the uncle that I knew right now." And I go, "No, my biological uncle." And he goes, how do you know him?" I go, "Oh, because I met him in the mall," and because my uncle didn't really want my dad to know that we met because he might have got angry about him leaving me and all that.
And this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And was your dad angry about the fact you had met them?
I thought he was going to be, but he responded positively to it, and he was glad that I met them, He wants me to meet them, and like the social worker set up a meeting for me and meeting my biological mom.
Oh, wow. So you will be able to ask some of the questions, huh?
Yeah.
Of that. And how do you think that she's going to feel about how you are doing? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I'm not really sure, because I'm not her mind and stuff. But
Yeah. How do you hope she feels?
I hope she feels just positive, glad that I'm growing up and stuff.
If somebody said you could meet one member of your birth family, who would you select?
Probably my dad, but I have two. I think I have two brothers, but I don't know I don't know how to get a hold of them or what their names are or anything.
And were they older?
Yeah, they're both older.
Mm-hmm. And as far as you know, are they still in Korea?
Yeah, I know, cause what I remember, maybe it was just all a dream, but they ran away before I did, and I took my sister with me, and we got picked up and then put in orphanage.
Oh.
I don't even know. I'd want to talk to all of them because
Okay.
I supposedly have like 2 sisters. So.
Who are older than
Yeah, I
you?
guess, yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard. Probably either one of my parents, because my birth father did, take me to the agency, but I don't know. I guess it's kind of natural to want to know who your birth mother is also.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know because my birth father doesn't know I exist,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And like on one hand, I kind of like to just go up to him and be surprised. Guess what happened? But on the other hand, I'd also like to go talk to my mom and see,
Probably my birth mother. No, I also wonder if she's even alive now or what she's doing. If she has a family, and I want to make sure she's happy and that she doesn't feel bad that she gave me up to. I hope she knows that that was the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
She was young. She was probably, I think, about 18. So.
So she was younger than you are now?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And which Mother's Day was it that you started thinking about her? I forget, how
Probably
old were you?
17, I think.
17,
That
so
is
you're
about
getting
almost
close to the age that she was when she got pregnant then, huh?
Yeah.
I'd want to ask my dad why he left, and I don't know. I want to meet my dad's side of the family.
What do you think has been the hardest part about adoption for your adoptive family, for your adoptive parents?
Actually, I think the hardest was when they were going through the process of adopting me. It took about 5 years. That's why my brother's 5 years older than I am. So they were kind of living their life just waiting and seeing if they were actually going to get a child. So I think that was probably the hardest. We talk now about that I'm adopted, and my mom the other day just said, "I can't believe you're adopted." It's just, I'm her kid, but it's just, I don't know. I don't think they have too much problems about it. Just the process at the beginning was hard.
I think they're used to having adopted kids because my mom has had a lot of foster kids and stuff. But maybe thinking about would they treat their own kids the same way, like consequences and stuff.
And what are your thoughts about that, since their own kids were all grown up by the time you moved in?
I don't know, maybe, sometimes I think my mom could be retired right now, just be hanging out all the time, but then she has to deal with us because, we're not grown up right now. Maybe she thinks about that sometimes.
Have you ever asked her if she did?
No.
Okay, well, she might or might not then, huh? Now, do you think that, what do your older brothers and sisters, the ones that were born to the family, say about whether you're treated the same or differently?
I never really brought it up.
Okay, I wondered if they just commented. See, I'm the youngest in a large family, and I was born to my family, as were my other brothers and sisters. But they all said our parents treated me very differently.
Oh, they think that my sister, my adopted sister, my adopted brother, they think that I'm treated better. I don't know, maybe because I'm younger.
Yeah, well, you know, the youngest in the family gets away with a lot sometimes, right?
Yeah. I know, like, with my mom's side, it's like they've, like, the older generation, because, like, my grandma, like, came from China, and they're not, I don't know if you could say prejudiced, but they do have a hard time accepting the fact that, you know, all the grandkids are mixed and stuff like that. And, you know, here comes me with like everything and stuff. And I've always been accepted, but it's, you know, you can always kind of feel like, yeah, well, you're not all Chinese, you know? And then, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that was exactly hard on my mom, but it's irritating and
Do you
stuff.
think that at some level that she was facing that anyway since she had not married a Chinese? I mean, that.
Oh yeah, that was not good. That was definitely not good. But you know, and then like on my dad's side, it's like my dad was the only person that did not marry a black person, and I was like seriously, it's like they are all dark, and I am very, you know. And
But on the other hand, you look similar to what probably
would have happened,
right?
Which is why they adopted me actually, because they knew. But I think with my dad, it was like kind of difficult for him, not because of something I would do necessarily, but like if we went out together, people would look and be like, "Oh, you know, your kid's not all black," and stuff like that. And he would always like he hated like coming to school sometimes because he used to make comments to my mom about they look down on me because, you know, our kid isn't, you know, full-blooded and I'm black and stuff like that, you know. So it was like with us, it wasn't like more of an adopted thing. It was more of a like a racial thing. Yeah.
And who did he feel this was coming from? From the white community, from the Chinese community, or from the black community?
I don't know. I just remember it's like the incident I remember most was when I was like in 4th grade and I forgot my lunch or something like that, and he came to drop it off. And it was really weird because I was born in Hawaii, and back in there they don't have like a real big racial thing because everyone's kind of
because everybody is mixed.
Yeah. And but he like came home and he was like complaining to my mom something about like one of the nuns or something had given him some attitude or something about it, and he was like, "Oh, it's because I'm black," and all this stuff, you know.
For me, it's dealing with everything that I put them through, probably. That's probably the hardest. But I think they're really happy now because I already know what I'm going to do in my life and everything.
Okay, and did they make it possible for you to figure out those things, or did you have to do it, or what?
Yeah, they try to tell me what's the best and what's right and wrong, but I guess I had to go find it out by myself. The person who you tell something to, I guess if they don't really want to listen to you, they're not going to find out and learn unless they experience it themselves.
Yeah.
Learning and knowing how to take care of a child who is physically disabled.
Okay, so they've had to learn lots of new things, huh?
Right. Because I remember hearing in the beginning they didn't know much about how to take care of someone who was born with either spina bifida or hydrocephalus.
So they had to learn both. Do you think they've done a pretty good job of learning?
Yes.
I think the hardest part for my parents has been like trying to deal with like the way I view adoption, what I want to find out about my parents. You know, I think they want to know, I don't know, I guess they want to see it from my view, how I feel about it. But I don't know, I just haven't really been able to tell them that.
That's hard to share, huh?
Yeah.
Adjusting to having a 10-year-old that they didn't bring up 10 years earlier.
I'm not sure because when I wonder about my birth parents and say that I'd like to find them someday, which I'm not so sure about anymore, they've accepted it pretty well. I mean, I think they're pretty understanding, so I'm not so sure if it's too hard on them. I think sometimes what's hard on them is just like just the normal things about any kid, you know, if they're bad or because some of my brothers have also run away before, and so I think that's pretty hard on them too. But it's just, it would happen in any family if any child did that.
About me being curious too about my real parents, and when I was not little, but when I was like from like 7 to 12, I went through these like little stages, And I was like, oh, you're not my real parents, and I don't have to listen to you, and this and that, and this and that. And I was being just a little brat about it all. And I know that they probably felt bad because I was like, ugh. And I was like, I'm gonna go find my real parents, and they're gonna be nicer to me than you, and this and that, and this and that, and all rubbing it in their face. And I was like,
And
so
how did they cope with that when you did that?
they were like, I don't know, they were all mean to me and stuff. No, because I used to pull that when they used to give me chores.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be like, oh, well, they'd probably never make me do this. And I used to just be like, oh, you're not like them, and this and that, and this and that. And, like, comparing them to each other. But I didn't really, know my real parents. But I would just be like, oh, you should be more like them. And so.
And do you think they really felt, would you be able to get them with that, do you think?
Sometimes my mom would just be all, she'd just, like, go in her room and shut the door. And then my dad, he wouldn't have it. He was just like, oh, no, you're going to your room. So, he wouldn't have any of it.
Before or after you did the chores?
Oh, after, of course. Made sure I finished everything.
I think my parents have a hard time because they didn't have me themselves, sort of.
Okay. So you think that that's been hard for them to have not have given birth to you?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any advice for parents who are wondering about how can I help my young person deal with their feelings about adoption? Is there anything parents could do to make it easier?
Just be open with them and tell them and let them know.
Okay. So to make it an open communication.
Mm-hmm.
Probably me dealing with it, having to really sit down with me sometimes and just having to accept the fact of that there's, I'm going to have things along the road that are going to hurt, and they're going to have to understand because they didn't have to go through this. And I think that's hard for them.
That is exactly one of the questions that they also asked when we asked them to come up with questions, was how can they help their young person with the loss issues? Do you have any advice for them about how adoptive parents can help young kids about their thinking about their birth family and about their feelings about wondering about them and missing them?
I think it's just being there for us and, saying, well, if you need anything, to find what you need to find, we're there for you. They don't have to have the answers, because I understand that, but just being there.
That they need to just support you and looking.
Yes.
Okay. For many of you, you've been placed transracially or transculturally. Can you tell us some about some of the impact of that for you and what you see as both the difficulties but also possibly some of the positives of that?
Well, it's weird because, like, on my dad's family, it's like I'm the light one because it's like I'm mixed besides, like, black and Chinese. I have both, and I have other stuff in me. And it's like no one's ever treated me different in either families, but it's like, I look around and it's like it's really hard for me to go, like, with my mom's family somewhere because we usually, like, stay in, like, Asian parts of town and stuff, and that's fine. But outside of my family, Asian people don't accept me because despite the fact that I'm half Asian, I'm not. And, like, when I'm with my dad's family, I'm cool with them. But then if I go anywhere else, then I'm, like, white, even though I'm not. And it's hard sometimes for me.
So from your viewpoint, no matter which community you go to, they sort of notice that you're different than than them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it doesn't bother me at all, but, like, if say I went out and they go, oh, who was that? Like, who dropped you off? And I'm just, oh, that was my mom. And they go, oh, well, why is she? And you're, And then I just tell them, and they go, oh, but that's about it.
Well, I just figure, I see, like, a lot of shirts that say love sees no color. I just figure it's just like that. I mean, we're all the same color skin in the inside.
Okay.
And I don't really think about my other parents because the ones that are raising me now are my parents, what I consider my real parents. Because they raised me and did everything for me. I see the balance. It's working out fine. I mean, I don't get harassed by it at all.
I don't like when we go out and everyone stares at us. That bothers me, but I should just like know that they're going to anyway.
And why does it feel to you like they're staring at you?
Well, because we're Asian and they're white, and they're just curious.
It doesn't really have an effect on me, I guess, because I've lived with them for so long, and also my dad is Asian, so I mean, people wouldn't guess if he and I were at a soccer game or something. They would never guess. But if I was with my mom, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel any different.
And am I right in assuming that most white people are not certain which Asian group you belong to? Or do they all know that you're Korean? Do they assume you're Korean or what?
No, they would assume I'm Chinese until I tell them, but...
And because you have a Chinese name as well.
Right, yeah, but
and
it confuses people when I have a Korean name and Chinese last name. But I've gone to a few stores where the Korean people are owners, and they always ask me, "Oh, are you Chinese?" And it confuses me when I say, "No, I'm Korean," and they say, "Oh, so are we," but I don't understand why they wouldn't ask me first if I was Korean. So that was just always been confusing to me.
Well, most of my neighbors are white, and they look at me funny and stuff, and they cross the street sometimes. It kind of makes me feel bad, makes me feel mad too.
Okay. Now, you have other brothers and sisters who are also similar in color to you, though. Is that right? In your family? Has that made it some easier or not?
Yeah, because I relate to them and stuff. They can relate to me.
So, is it brothers that you have that are similar in color to you?
I have a brother and a sister.
That are each older.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. And have they taught you some about the skills about how you deal with that?
Well, my sister, I don't talk to her that much, so she didn't teach me that much. But my brother did. He just said don't worry about it and all that. And he said they hate me because they're not me. So it made me feel good.
Uh-huh. So your brother has really helped you with that one, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And do you feel like you belong in your family?
Mm-hmm. Because all the relatives, they're nice to me, and I've known them for a long time. So it's not really a color thing when I see them. We're just like my cousins and my aunts and everything.
Okay.
People stare at us when we go out and stuff too. But other than that, it's cool, I guess.
Do you feel like you belong in your family?
Yeah.
Okay. How frequently do you think about being adopted?
All the time.
All the time.
Yep.
Okay.
I think
do you think that would be surprising to adoptive parents?
probably, yeah.
Yeah, we found that that's a pretty common response from many young people, and it is surprising to their parents. They didn't realize how commonly kids think about it.
I guess I don't really think about it very often. It's just like when family tree or something to do with go and find this about this and that, and you're just all okay. Well, try. You can't really do that. Or when they ask you to bring in pictures or something, and it's just how I don't have any. And I guess I feel like I belong. I mean, I don't really think about that or anything. So
I don't think about it at all. I used to when I was little, when I didn't know what it meant. Oh, what's going to happen to me now I'm adopted? And as for belonging in the family, after everything I've been through and everything, I think I belong.
Okay.
I think that I'm accepted.
I guess I don't think about it that often. Just when little things come up and stuff. And I guess I feel belong in the family.
Sometimes. Well, sometimes when I'm alone.
Okay. So you're more likely to think of it when you're alone than when you're with the rest of the family?
Right.
I think about being adopted when I was taking biology, when we got into the genetics portion of biology, that came up a lot.
Sure.
But right now, I mean, I don't think about it very much.
It comes up a lot. I think about it most of the time, except when I'm at school. That's when I think about it.
Okay.
When it comes up like this from school or something, but I usually don't think about it. Got other things on my mind.
I don't think about it as often now. I did when I was like little, not little, but like kind of little, and but I don't really think about it now.
During those grade school years that you were
Yeah.
throwing it out a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about belonging in your family?
I don't know. I mean, I think I belong all right because we get along and everything. But then, I mean, I kind of don't belong because, you know, I mean, I don't know, because we are like different races and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I do think of, you know, how I would have turned out if I would have been in an all-black family and what would have happened to me. So.
Well, like when we get together for like family reunions and stuff, I think like, oh, what position would I be in? Like if I was like with my biological parents, would this be the same?
Mm-hmm.
Would it, or like, would I still have these family reunions and stuff? But other than that, not very much.
It's like I didn't think about it a lot at all when I was little and stuff. I was just kind of oblivious to it. I don't think I really started to think about it until my grandparents on my dad's side a few years ago had a big family reunion, and all the kids made like this really big, huge family tree, and like, you know, they had me up there and like next to my dad and everything, and I kind of started to wonder what it would feel like to have the same blood as everyone else in the family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if it would feel any different or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was like something that bothered me for a little while.
About how old were you then?
Oh, I think I was like 13.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I was about 13, 14, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I don't know, it's like I've never really felt like I didn't belong, but then I've never, it's like no one ever treated me different. I don't even know if half my cousins know. I don't know. I mean, everyone's always kind of treated me as like, oh, you're just so-and-so's kid or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's like I can also like look at them and see how different I look. And it doesn't bother me, but then the difference is there. And
I don't think about it that often. I think I did more when I was younger, but not too much now. I mean, it comes up once in a while. Just like the family tree was pretty hard in school because, I mean, because they were saying, yeah, go back to your ancestors as far as you can go, at least 10 generations. And that was pretty hard because I didn't know. And then
I don't know anybody who goes back
I
10
know.
generations.
Well, you know, we're supposed to kind of figure it out. And I think I fit pretty well because, I mean, I've always wondered what it would be like to live in a traditional Korean family because some of my friends are, and I can't imagine it. I don't think I'd fit in well there at all. I mean, I can barely use chopsticks, so I don't think it would work, but I feel fine with the family I have.
I think adoption means finding a suitable home for a kid that does not have a home to live in.
You're almost loved extra because the family had to love you enough to give you up to a better family.
Adoption means accepting and just accepting and loving someone who wasn't loved before.
Adoption to me means caring about somebody enough that you know you can't take care of them and that you can give them up to let them have a better life.
to me, it just means like taking someone or something in and like treating it as your and loving it as your own. Like, you know, there's no line there. It's yours now.
Adoption means moving in with a family that can like provide for you, keep a roof over your head and stuff.
I think adoption means just a loving family for a child who needs one who is less fortunate, who didn't have one.
I guess adoption would be like accepting.
A commitment means a commitment.